Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking, and thank you for being on my channel. I hope you like the content, and today I would like to speak about the Venus-Mars mutual reception. But before we actually start with that, if you like the channel, please make sure you press like to the video, subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when an excellent video is coming up again. And plus one more announcement, you have got 3 days to register for my upcoming solar return chart reading course, which is going to be 3 weeks. We're going to be talking about advanced things as well as beginner stuff. So such as the patterns in the solar return chart every 8 to 12 years, the midheaven is changing modality, so it's very prominent in our career, or the Venus position in the chart, which has got maximum 8 positions in your solar return chart, so how you can work with that cycle, hermetic lots, and many other interesting things which you might not have heard of. So it's a 3-week course, approximately about 12 to 15-hour length altogether, and you can do that on my website, AstroViktor.com. Now, today, as I mentioned, I wanted to make a video about the Venus-Mars mutual reception. But before we actually explore what this might mean, we need to explain what mutual reception is. Now, when a planet is not in its own home sign, it is actually being ruled by another planet. And that's going to be the ruler of the sign the planet resides in. So how to imagine this is that, imagine that, for instance, you have got Mercury in Capricorn, for instance. So the ruler of that Mercury is going to be Saturn. And this is what we call as a dispositor. Or another example, imagine that you have got Venus in the sign of Aries. Now, this is not the home sign for Venus, because Aries is ruled by Mars. So Mars will be influencing Venus with its natal position as well. If you think about Venus, her home sign is going to be Libra and Taurus. So that's where she is going to be the strongest influence. Now, if 2 planets are in their own, so in each other's sign, that's what we will be calling as mutual reception. By the way, there are 5 types of mutual reception. I'm only going to be talking about the one today, the one which is just mutual reception by rulership. But there is exaltation, triplicity, term, and phase as well. Those are minor meanings. I won't be speaking about that today. Now, imagine this. So for instance, I give you another example. And the reason being is because I actually want you to get to a planet, which is we call as the final dispositor. So imagine that you have got Venus in the sign of Aries. Now, Venus is going to be ruled by Mars. Now, imagine that Mars is going to be in Capricorn. Well, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Then imagine that Saturn is being in the sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. And then if you look at where moon is, and maybe moon is going to be in the sign of Cancer as well, then we call this as moon is the final dispositor of your initial Venus. So imagine this as a chain of command. Now, maybe at the beginning of your life, we started with Venus in Aries. It's going to be playing out as Venus in Aries, but then it's going to be handed over to the next planet. As we said, Mars was in the sign of Capricorn, if I'm not mistaken. So at one point, it's going to be handed over to Mars in the sign of Capricorn, which is actually an exalted position. So actually that works very well. So if we say, let's say that your love life is represented by Venus, maybe at the beginning of your life, your love life will be a little bit full of turmoil, Venus in Aries, maybe some type of struggle, but then it's getting handed over to Mars in Capricorn, which is exalted. So we can have a period of time when our relationship is going to be very solid, full of fun, and all those type of things, as much Capricorn can be fun orientated, by the way. And then, as I said, maybe Saturn which rules Mars, is in the sign of Cancer. So it might be, ooh, we're going to be full of responsibility when it comes to family, right? But the final dispositor is going to be Moon in Cancer. So eventually that is affecting every single relationship planet here. So this is what we call as the sole dispositor or final dispositor. So the sole dispositor in astrology is seen as a particularly special planet because it is not only in its own sign, but it also rules all the other planets in the chart. So maybe easier if I show you, for instance, an example. So let me just share my screen. Well, I'm trying. Now, okay, so let me, for instance, bring up my own chart. 6th of February, 1983, and then 7:48. And this might be helping you to understand a little bit better. Okay, so here is my chart. So let's suppose that I want to be examining what is going on with the sun, for instance. So the sun is in the sign of Aquarius. So it's kind of like sun is reporting to Saturn. Okay, so definitely the sun is taking on some Saturnian qualities. And of course, Saturn is in the sign of Scorpio. So that sun is somehow colored with Scorpionic traits as well. However, Saturn is ruled by Mars. Here, I recommend using the traditional rulers. So meaning that Scorpio is ruled by Mars, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. So I'm looking at where Mars is. So you can see that Mars is in the sign of Pisces. So that's not necessarily rulership. But when we look at the ruler of Mars, which is Jupiter, now Jupiter is basically the final dispositor because Jupiter being in the sign of Sagittarius. Okay, so this is what we call as final dispositor altogether. So if I was looking at something to do with, for instance, sun-related topics, which is life purpose on one hand, but in this specific chart, it would be talking about 6th house matters, which is all about health and medical matters, then Jupiter would have the final say in this topic, but there would be Saturnian and Marsian qualities to that topic also. Okay, so looking at another example, for instance, Mercury. Mercury is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is ruled by Mars. Mars is ruled by Jupiter. So somehow my Mercury is also in connection to Jupiter because that's the final dispositor. So I hope it makes sense now. Now, let me just point out that usually these planets are in rulership. Now, if you don't have any planet in rulership, that's a little bit different story. Definitely in October, I think I will be making a webinar about the essential dignities and how to use that because each of the column of the essential dignity table will be representing one life of yours. So for instance, let's say here is the transit chart, okay? Oh, I'm not sharing the screen anymore, aren't I? So let me just share the screen back up so that we are clear on that. So for instance, if I'm examining the moon here on the current transits, definitely there is a Saturnian period, a Mars period, a Venusian period, a Jupiterian period, and again, a Marsian period. Okay, so if I was examining moon, which rules the career, at one point it would be Saturnian influence, so Saturn in Aquarius. So maybe we're gonna start with a home business, right? The Saturn is placed in the 4th house. Okay, there would be a Marsian period. So Mars is in Libra and so forth. So I'm not gonna go through all of that. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. So that's what we call as your sole dispositor. and it is playing a dominant force within your natal chart. Now, a mutual reception happens when a planet is located with another planet's sign. And that other planet is located with the original planet sign. And this is exactly the case this time around on the sky, in the sky. So Mars is being in the sign of Libra, and Venus is being in the sign of Scorpio. So this is believed to be a very special connection between two planets. Some astrologers believe that it acts like a conjunction. Okay, so a mutual reception is often thought to have the meaning of a conjunction within the chart, a meaning that the two planets somehow must work together. We need to be fusing the two planetary energies if we want them to be working well. I'd like to point out that 43% of us have a mutual reception actually by sign, okay, among the visible planets. Now, there are possible 57 combinations for mutual receptions among these 7 visible planets. So it's quite a lot, but I don't think we actually pay a special attention to it. I do believe though, okay, one more thing which I would like to point out. When you are examining a mutual reception, you must look at the planetary strength between the two planets. So actually, let me share the screen back again, because that's a little bit easier to do so. Okay, so here is Mars in the sign of Libra, and then you can see that on 0 degree, and then you can see that Venus is on 5 degree of Scorpio. Now, when we start looking at the planetary strength, you should be looking at the essential limit table. So you can see that Venus is ruled by Mars, and the Mars is ruled by Venus, and you can see that there is actually a letter M next to it. So that means mutual reception by rulership on the top of it, okay? Now, as you can see, Venus currently has got strength in the sign of Scorpio by triplicity. So far, this mutual reception is actually not too bad, but it's going to lose its power once Venus is coming out of that, I think it's 7 degree. On 7 degree, it might be losing its strength. I would need to check that, so don't take that for granted. But as soon as Venus moves forward, it's gonna lose. Oh, it's not gonna lose the triplicity. Oh, sorry. So anyway, imagine that it lost the strength, okay? So then eventually it would become a detriment. So Venus would be very weak. And you can see that Mars is very weak as well. It has no strength whatsoever. So instead of mutual reception, I would call this as a mutual deception. Because if two planets are very weak, actually it's quite hard for them to work together because they are very busy with their own problems. So therefore, some mutual reception, when the planets have got strength, you should be looking at them as a conjunction. So, and the planets can be working together. And if they have no strength, meaning that they are in detrimental position, then maybe you should be looking at them as a opposition. So this time around, you know, I leave it with you, how you're going to be looking at that Venus and Mars. It could be looked at as a conjunction. It could be looked at as a opposition as well. Another consideration you would like to make when you are analyzing a mutual reception, whether the two planets get along or not. So how you do that? You do that by their qualities. So Mars is a hot and dry planet. Venus is a cold and moist planet. So they are completely opposite to each other. Hot and cold, opposite, and dry and moist, also opposite. So this is what we call as natural enemies. So therefore, this mutual reception on the sky might be a little bit challenging, okay? Now, one more thing you would like to consider with mutual receptions, because not all of them are very significant though. The most significant one is when the two planets also have got an aspect. Any type of aspect, it can be a sign-based aspect as well. So it doesn't have to be degree-based aspect, okay? So these are the three considerations which you need to be looking at when you have got a mutual reception, okay? Now, so just to summarize on that, if you want to go deeper with your mutual receptions, you want to be looking at the strength of those two planets. Do they have any strength? Okay. You have to take into consideration whether the planet sign is in detriment, exaltation, fall, and all those type of things. Okay. And you're going to have to look at whether these planets like each other or doesn't like each other. So if you are unsure about which planet like each other, Sun and Mars, they like each other, they are a couple. Venus and Moon, they like each other. And Mercury and Saturn, also a pair. They like each other. Jupiter is kind of a planet which can get along with everyone. So Jupiter is kind of out of the picture here. Okay, brilliant. Now I'd like to give another example actually of the very good mutual receptions and think about Cameron Diaz. Now, I'm not going to bring up her chart, but imagine that her moon is in Taurus in the 11th house on top of my head, and her Venus is in Cancer. This is a mutual reception. And those two planets have also got a sign-based aspect as well. In her, because Taurus and Cancer are sextile to each other. By the way, in Cameron Diaz's birth chart, she also has got a degree-based aspect between those two planets. So if you have got such thing, this is something to do with a significant luck in your life. I'd like you to remember that. By the way, she started being a model when she was young, okay? And of course, Venus and Moon together, because it would be acting like a conjunction, is brilliant for artistic endeavors also. Okay, so I hope this mutual reception is kind of making sense for us. Now, this mutual reception basically started on the 15th of September because Mars entered Libra, the star sign, which is ruled by Venus. And 5 days before, Venus entered the sign of Scorpio as well, which is a star sign ruled by Mars. So this mutual reception actually got created today, okay? So from a traditional perspective, both planets are in their sign of detriment, which means that the planet is weakened. I made a video both about Mars in Libra and Venus in Scorpio, so you might want to check that out. But I wanted to kind of teach you about mutual reception and how to read these two planetary energies together. So if you think about what is happening, like Mars which is all about straightforwardness, it's about being motivated. It's going ahead, rushing, speed. Mars is very self-orientated, but in the sign of Libra, Mars needs to learn to consider other people as well, right? So, and we need to think about through Venusian lenses. So harmony, beauty, peace, self-worth, loving and caring relationships. And Scorpio says, you know, dive into those dark places, make those connections with others. And you don't necessarily need to kind of feel like so dark, right? So Mars kind of needs to learn that. Now, these two planets going to be in mutual reception until 7th of October, 2021. This is the time actually when Venus will be leaving the sign of Scorpio. So in the next 3 weeks, I believe we need to be working on relationship matters. We do need to be working together with someone else, someone we can trust, because Scorpio is all about bonds and trust issues. Someone who wants to support us, but someone we can also support, and kind of figuring out who we can trust, who are there for us when it's needed. So it is very much relationship focused, relationship with others, also relationship with yourself as well, or getting in touch with your feminine and your masculine energies as well at the same time. So kind of like an energy healing is involved here in the relationship department. And I'd like to point out that the reason I also believe that this mutual reception is important, because Vesta, which is kind of a karmic point in our chart, also entered the sign of Scorpio not so long ago. Oh, actually, it's going to be entering in a few days, sorry. Now, I recommend checking that video also out. So 3 videos you might want to check out. Mars in Libra, Venus in Scorpio, and Vesta in the sign of Scorpio as well. So the questions which might be coming up with this mutual reception in the near future for you: am I able to trust other people? Am I able to build a relationship based on intimacy and commitment? What is the energy level in my relationship? What is the relationship with myself? Do I feel beautiful? Where does that beauty come from? Am I a little bit shallow and I believe that the beauty is only coming from the rose petals? Or actually, do I see the internal beauty of myself as well? So where is your own beauty rooted? And it might be rooted very deeply. I do believe that this mutual reception can be quite a healing, or at least going through a healing phase, why you are not able to attract relationship in your life, or why am I having relationship issues. But also, Venus is the planet of money as well, and Mars is the drive. So what is making me, what is hindering me from making more money? Or why am I not making enough money? Is that connected somehow to my self-worth? Or or am I able to collaborate with others? Let me give you a tip here. You might want to be looking at your Libra and Scorpio house cusp. And imagine that those two are actually opposing each other. So I'll give you an example from my own chart. So 8th house is Libra in my chart, and the 9th house is Scorpio. So imagine that the 8th and the 9th house are opposing, okay? Or conjuncting, whichever way you want to be working with mutual receptions, okay? There are debates about it, as I mentioned. Some people believe that it acts like an opposition when the planets are in detriment, but definitely the positive ones are working as conjunctions. So 8th house is about transformation, 9th house is about travel. Now, I can tell you how this mutual reception plays out in my life currently. I want to move to a hotter place, but it was all in process. And then I figured out, I went online, started looking at whether the gyms are open in other countries, or do you need a COVID passport to enter gyms and so forth. And then the places I chose, yes, there is a green pass in gyms. So therefore, I decided to stay where I am, because gym is very important in my life, and I don't wish to give up on that. So the 8th and the 9th house are pretty much playing out in this mutual reception. And actually, I got to know this only a few days ago. Okay. So, but another thing which might come up with this mutual reception is something around gender confusion. What do I mean by that? For instance, the roles are getting swapped up in your partnership, and that could be annoying, or gender-related matters will be popping up in social media quite a lot. Or it is very possible that all of a sudden you're going to be reading news about different type of relationship abuse and rape and all those type of things. That's very, very possible, because Venus and Mars is kind of like playing that power struggle in relationships. So the positive, how you should make this positive, is kind of focusing your energy on kind of like mutual compromises, sorry, okay? Or also, Venus and Mars mutual reception can talk about this very strong sexual chemistry between two people, a very passionate kind of relationship, which might start with some sexuality, with some sexual moments, bedroom moments, okay? It's kind of like the planetary combination of chemistry. But at the same time, Venus and Mars is like oil and water. They don't necessarily get along too much. So we can be expecting very passionate moments in the bedroom, but maybe heated arguments as well at the same time. So turbulence in a partnership is very possible because one might want to dominate a little bit more. I would be recommending to watch out when Mars will be squaring Pluto. That could be very prominent period for you. Because of course, Pluto talks about those power struggles. So that's one of the period of time when I'd like you to be more cautious, okay? And the other one, as I said, is when Venus will be opposing Uranus. Now, Venus will be opposing Uranus around the 23rd, 24th, 25th. So I would say from the 23rd till about the 30th. That's also kind of a little bit of a dangerous period, okay? And when it comes to the Plutonian and Marsian energy, while that's going to be around the October 21st and 22nd, but I would give a week on each side. So that might be lasting for a couple of weeks. I'd like to point out that Mars will be actually making a T-square between Aries, Pluto. So that might be a very intense square. This is a T-square, okay? And it's all about pressure. It's all about quorum. It's like a pressure cooker, the last straw type of syndrome. So I've also made a video about that. So you might want to be checking that out, okay? So now, what else might be actually important to mention here? This mutual reception can make us very hyperactive because it's all about goal set, somehow love, cash flow, or anything around your personal values. You might want to be pursuing those with such a huge enthusiasm, right? But with Mars on the side, we can burn out easily. So we do need to be aware of that. Memorable, fun moments in your life, that's very possible, as I mentioned. Exciting adventures, that's very possible. Strong sexual chemistry with others. Socially, we can be a lot more active. That's also possible. Let's see how Uranus opposition will play out. Maybe we're going to get restricted a little bit on that, but we will see. This aspect can be sometimes a little bit selfish as well, not wanting to compromise, or we are not wanting to kind of alter our viewpoint. Or actually, we can actually sink into other people's desire, and then we really want to be pleasing them without any type of limit. So it can really go to the extremes. Or it's very good for initiation, a relationship as well, or activities as a couple. Or it's very stimulating to kind of develop the relationship as well. So it really depends where you want to be going. You might become very ambitious around your financials. I would recommend in the next 3 weeks, you might want to be watching out for your financials, or if you want to be investing into something, because actually it can drop the prices a little bit. On the stock market, crypto, and all those type of things, please do let me know in the next 3 weeks if you saw that. Okay? So this is the mutual reception between Venus and Mars. So I hope it gives you a little bit of a clarity how it works out. Thank you, everyone, and see you very shortly. Bye-bye.